Right. World Sevens football. Now, this is a tournament I came across recently, and I've got to say, I'm looking forward to it. Now, here's what it's about. In short, 8 teams from current clubs across the world will be going head to head for the World Sevens football title. The format of it's quite simple really. 2 groups of 8 teams split into 4, with the top 2 from each side qualifying for the semi-finals and then the final, or I think that's how it's going to be played anyway. I haven't actually seen the complete format yet, but one thing I've got to say is that it's looking very interesting. And one thing I like about it is that it's 7-a-side, featuring the current clubs, or rather that it features the current clubs is something I'm not too sure about. But I'll get onto that later. But one thing I do like is that the games are shorter. So it's 15 minutes each way with 30 minutes being played, and hopefully no added time. If I had to have a criticism of it so far, is that it's using current teams. So we might see a Manchester City or a Chelsea, you might see a Kansas City current there, or we might see a Real Madrid or Barcelona there as well. And that's something I'm not too sure about. For me, I believe it should have been a franchise event using entirely new team names, like we've seen in the 100. That for me is what I would have liked to have seen. So it's new team names with new brands, rather than using the current names of current football clubs. Do I think this will be a success? Well, that it is far too early to say. Like, plans for the tournament are still very new for what kicks off in May. What else do I think? Looking at the format of a tournament, it reminds me of Rugby X back in 2019. Now, speaking of Rugby X, whatever happened to that tournament? Like, I'm aware there was meant to be another one in 2020, but we all know what's happened there. But since then, nothing has really been said of it. Like, I enjoyed Rugby X in 2019. I believed it was an alternative to maybe the 15-side game or the 7-side game to what we usually see. And one thing I liked about Rugby X was that its games were really fast. Like, but one thing I didn't like was that shootout thing. But yeah, I'm not here to talk about Rugby X. I'm more here to talk about this new Football Sevens tournament. But I will comment on Rugby X in a later video, but don't hold me to it. Another thing I like about this Sevens event is that it's just simply called World Sevens Football, rather than the Women's World Sevens Football. Like, you know what I mean? It doesn't have the word women's as its title, because we know it's a women's event, so it doesn't need to be explained, if you know what I mean. Because if you look at women's events from different sports, like for instance, we see like the WSL, which is named the Women's Super League, or the NWSL, which is known as the National Women's Soccer League, or the WNBA, which is the Women's NBA. Like, for me, that's not needed in sports, and I'm glad that this new tournament hasn't bucked that trend. Like, is that the correct saying? Bucked the trend? Well, I have no idea what that means. But anyway, what are your thoughts on the format of this tournament? Would you prefer to see something different? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Let me know your thoughts. Right. one more thing about this World Football Sevens tournament, or is it World Sevens football? Anyway, I know I said I liked the group stage format, but for me, I would have preferred if it was a straight knockout. So you have like 4 quarterfinals followed by 2 semi-finals and then a final. But it's not really that big of a thing, but that's something that's just come to mind. But anyway, World Sevens football. What are your thoughts on this tournament that's set to take place in May? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Would it be would it do the women's game good or not? And another thing, what are your thoughts on alternative football? Because I am aware this is not the only alternative football tournament out there. Because there's also Baller League, which is very interesting, which I think is very interesting anyway. But that's just my 2 cents. What are your thoughts on World Sevens football?